Hello and welcome into the SorareData Football Strategy Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare, joined as always, mostly by Sean Newsham, PSU fans too. Today to talk about Rare and Rare Pro. But Sean, everybody, and thank you everybody who has joined us live, that is, and after, I guess. Everybody's talking about the new long format prize pools. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're pretty reasonable. I just looked at them briefly. I think they came out like 20 minutes ago. But it looked pretty interesting. It definitely looks like there's going to be some stuff to prioritize. The key, I think, is just going to be like you're going to have like a good week or two. And then that's going to be the priority lineup going forward because it's in a really good spot. So I think that's going to have to come into play where you're going to have to like change your priorities based on like where you've had good scores previously. But yeah, it definitely looked pretty interesting. I think that it's going to be pretty solid. The key is going to be consistency and midweeks. Like if you don't have midweek options to give you chances to put up good scores in the midweek, I think things are going to be difficult. However, like if a midweek is like very low on games and you're like the top scores are like 400 points, and it doesn't matter as much because you're just realistically not going to have that as an option. But I do think like, so for example, if you have like, I don't know, 4 weekends out of the 8 game weeks, one of them is probably going to be bad. Like you're going to have a random DNP at some point during one of those, right? So you want to at least have midweek options so you can maybe steal 1 week where you get a midweek that puts up a solid score to give you a solid option.
So the one thing that I'm a little bummed about, and a few people have mentioned it in the chat, like where it is. So I'm just going to pull this up here because this is where it is. But basically, like if you go to your notifications and they have this like reminder of the long form, there is a link here that brings you to where the league, it's your private leagues, but then there are also actually in the public leagues. Like, so this is where they are. But yeah, I haven't seen a Medium post about it, about a new one, but they're all here along with like the new, like the prize pools are in here. They seem pretty great. I will say the one bummer that like I thought of immediately when you said you like it's good if you have midweeks is that there's an international break coming up.
Yeah.
And like I have to imagine most people are not prepared for that. And it's a bummer that like that's one of the weekends that we get.
Well, it's not even one of the weekends, right? It's just like you're going to have 3 game weeks of the 8 are going to be an international break. Right. So like you are going to have absolutely no shot in this unless you have high-end international cards. Because like, I mean, realistically, like you're going to have high-end international cards that are going to go out there and smash. And if you don't own them, you're just not realistically going to be able to compete during this window. And realistically, there's always going to be international breaks during the year. So like always you're going to have international options or it's going to be difficult to fully compete.
Yeah. Yep. It is just at least one more thing that we need to consider when we're doing this because yeah, Misaki said like there's an international break in each of the next 3 months.
Yeah.
And so they are clearly billing this as a month-long competition, like September 1 to September 29. And so if they just keep doing them, then yeah, the international scouting just becomes a little more necessary, I'll say.
Yeah. People are going to bitch about it too. People are going to bitch once they realize that. But yeah, or like La Liga cards, MLS probably plays through it. So it's definitely going to be something where you're going to have other options, but like those are still like you just don't get France versus Gibraltar every day of the week, right? And like if you have France versus Gibraltar, like those guys are going to put up humongous scores. You're going to put up like a 500-point game week in like Rare Pro or something, and that's going to play in the 4 best little scores.
You would think. You're really doing something right if 500 doesn't get you to your 20 of your best scores. But yeah, the I forgot who France has in the upcoming.
I don't think they have as big of a. Let me see if I can go to it. I don't think.
Pretty sure they did have one good one.
I think it's the middle. of the month. I think it's 406.
They
Yeah,
play
so
they play Ireland at home.
yeah, which I mean,
That's pretty good
they're going to
matchup
be a
wise.
big favorite against Ireland at home.
Yeah,
Are the games not fully in there yet?
they're not.
Okay. Yeah,
They are not.
it looks like the European games are not in there, but like the South American games are, because Argentina against Bolivia is showing. Unless that was the end of the international window.
I'm not sure. Germ pointed out this really funny one that there are 80 stars available in the limited competition.
Mm-hmm. Yep, checks out.
80. How many
But like
players?
it's one of those things, right? Like let's say this weekend I finished like 5th in All-Star Rare and I just like smash it. I'm probably going to prioritize All-Star Rare way more than I normally would the rest of the month, because there's a pretty good shot I can put together a pretty good month-long score. So like you have to add some like equity to that. It's hard to fully navigate, but like, or like let's say I put up like 5th place score this weekend, 5th place score the following weekend. I would probably run all my best cards in All-Star Rare the rest of the month to make sure that I'm getting as good of a prize from the month long as I can.
Yeah, I actually wasn't even considering that as part of our conversation today, but it surely has to play a part. Like if you
Definitely.
have, if you start off with like 2 monster scores, like you absolutely will start putting your
Yep.
best cards in that, even though you still need,
Well,
you know,
you play
presumably.
All-Star Rare, Rare Pro, and Super Rare, right? Like you're typically right now playing All-Star Super Rare.
This weekend was like my first reasonable attempt at it.
Okay, but like hypothetically speaking, this weekend coming up, you finish 3rd in All-Star Super Rare. First of all, you'll be very excited. Also, then you'll be very let down with your prizes. Then you might prioritize it the rest of the month, because if you do that, you have a pretty good shot at winning a pretty decent reward from the month-long competition as well. So like it's definitely something, or like hypothetically, let's say somehow, and it's going to be tricky because obviously you don't have tons and tons of cards, but like let's say the next 2 game weeks on the weekend, you put up like top 5 scores in All-Star Super Rare. You probably would be pretty incentivized to then make sure your All-Star Super Rare lineups are really good the next couple game weeks, even if you have to go buy like some cards because of that reason. Like, because if you're doing that, like you have a pretty good shot to win high-end rewards. And the month-long competition, like the top prizes are pretty nice.
Yeah, realistically, it's not so much going out and buying more super rares. It's actually sacrificing other
Yes.
cards to do it. Like
Yeah,
it's
you
not.
in that situation, you probably sacrifice like 3 lineups to do it, right? Like instead of your All-Star Rare Pro lineup running like good or running Coate Super Rare, like you would run that in All-Star Super Rare and like sacrifice that line type of thing.
I'm not talking about sacrificing lineups. I'm talking about sacrificing cards. Like I don't think most people are sitting on a ton of ETH. They're like, yeah, let me just go buy some more super rares. Like I would literally have to like sell super rares and rares to get better super rares to play in All Star.
Yeah,
That's
which may be worthwhile. It'll
right.
be. It all depends how it sort of plays out.
Yeah. I think I mean, obviously in that division, you're competing against people that do exactly what you just said, that can just
Yes.
go out and buy better super rares.
Yes.
And so yeah, it's a tricky one. But yeah, I also ignoring the fact that if you do have a few good game week results, like you're getting rewards from that also.
Yeah.
Like you could really clean up if you do well. Like theoretically, if you do well in the month-long competition, you have also cleaned up in the game week competitions
Yes.
in that month.
Yeah, like there's no way you'll finish. Like if you get 4 rewards or something over the course of the month in like All-Star Rare Pro, like you probably are going to get a reward also for the monthly competition.
Feels it.
Most likely. And like if you're getting a reward for the monthly competition, like that can play out. Like this week, for example, like I'm 69th in All-Star Rare Pro. But that's not bad, right? Like that's solid, and that gives you a score that puts you in 69th place. If this was the first week of it, I would be in 69th place, which what does 69th place get?
Tier 2 rare.
Tier 2 rares. Yeah, so like if you get 69th, you're like, all right, if I get 69th on the overall leaderboard, like I get another tier 2 rare on top of it. Not to mention, if I get 69th, I'm like, all right, I can build off this, make it into the top 20, which is probably a tier 1 or a tier 0 even if you get high enough. So it's definitely there's a lot more that goes into it based on this long competition, which I like. I mean, I find it fun. I do like the downside with it that I don't love is that if you don't have big galleries, you just aren't going to compete. And Tuggy's here. I'll use Tuggy as an example. We'll give Tuggy kudos this week. He has a really good All-Star Rare Pro lineup. So right now, Tuggy is in 22nd in All-Star Rare Pro. That's great, right? That's a really good result. The issue is that like for Tuggy to finish that high on the monthly leaderboard, it's going to be really difficult because he just has less ability to have like, so for example, this was an elite level matchup for Sanfrecce.
Yeah.
It was a really good matchup. Obviously, the rares let him down, which is unfortunate. I mean, Carlos Gil let him down. Always sad to see when that happens. But like, you don't get this type of matchup every week with Sanfrecce. And the issue is that if next week they play away at Marinos, he really doesn't have great options to like replace that. So all of a sudden his All-Star Rare Pro lineup is not very good next weekend. And then all of a sudden, like he's out of contention because he really can't make it happen. So it is a way to benefit people with bigger galleries, which is good because people that are obviously, those are your customers that are putting in a lot of funds. Those are the customers that you want to reward more than other customers. But it is still unfortunate. Like if you go out there and you have a smaller gallery and you finish first on the weekend, holding on to first is going to be really difficult over the course of the month. So it's just it is a tricky situation. Like even this midweek, I assume Tuggy, you're here in this midweek. If this was part of the competition, do you have like an elite level Rare Pro lineup you could run in the midweek, or is it just sort of you don't really have a lineup, so you just have no real shot at putting up a score?
We can look at it ourselves.
We can go to the lineup builder and take a gander. And I'm going to assume he doesn't have a great option because I know he doesn't have the super rares most likely. Yeah, so like realistically, I think Tuggy would have to sacrifice his rare lineup to make this work as good as possible. So like all of a sudden, like so Tuggy this midweek, I'm not saying it's totally ruined because so Tuggy's not playing Gas 3. So midweek, Tuggy is not playing Gas 3. So Gas 3, he won't even have a lineup in this midweek. But if this was part of the competition and this was game week 2 of the 8, he's sort of just sacrificing a spot where he really can't put out a lineup. Now, I can put out a pretty good lineup in that competition. So all of a sudden, my 67th on the weekend is going to be attached to a reasonable lineup in the midweek that others can't do. So I'm torn on it because like I do think that obviously you're rewarding people with bigger galleries. You're incentivizing people to buy cards, which is all good. You're giving more rewards to people that are the people that should be prioritized in terms of getting more rewards, but it's a very unbalanced playing field. But things are always going to be an unbalanced playing field. So I don't know. It's like it's one of those situations where like you're effed if you do, effed if you don't type of thing. I even look at that, Laird. I'm not even swearing or anything.
I want to bring this up though. What about just playing this lineup in
Correct?
Yeah, in Rare Pro.
But I think that is something someone may do. But like, I'm not. It's if Tuggy had this result and this was part of the competition, he very well may run this. But then, like, you look at this lineup, Tadic very possibly rotates. Fenerbahce is up like 5 goals against 20. They very well might not play Tadic in this game. So all of a sudden,
this
like,
no AA is a bummer this midweek.
Yeah, and Cecchini's going to get no AA. So it's either you play Cecchini with no AA in a God matchup, and you hope he gets a decisive, or you play Tadic, who may not play, and you have Painstill, who's suspended. So all of a sudden, Tuggy maybe would have to go by a forward if he was really making it happen. But like, I think what people will do is they will make this type of decision like at game week 2, and I think that would probably be detrimental because like the odds of Tuggy staying up there for 4 good game weeks out of 8 is difficult. So you probably don't want to do it. But if you put up 2 big scores, you realistically have to do something like that.
I wish we had more data on it off, meaning I had it off the top of my head. So it's 170 prizes are up for grabs for in Rare Pro.
Yes.
Which seems like a decent amount since like you can only win one.
Yes.
And I wonder how many, like if you really need like 4 banging game weeks or not.
My guess is you probably are going to need around 1,550 to 1,600 for a reward.
So like basically 4 385, 380s.
Yeah,
to
probably want like, I'm thinking like 400s, right? Like it's just what I'm sort of thinking. But maybe actually it's probably lower because I'm in the rewards at 407. But this game week, like all the top.
Yeah, it's tough to do a single game week. Yeah.
I think let's go. What won a reward last week in like All-Star Rare Pro? Like last weekend. What
I have it like literally on my screen right here because I wanted to talk about it today. Here we go. I was actually comparing, and apologies for the very ugly Google Sheets here. I'm embarrassed that I'm even showing this, but here it is. So like a tier, these are minimum points. This is taken right from the historical tab of the lineup builder. So like for a tier 2, it's around 400 basically in each competition. Tier 3s I was basically comparing minimum points for each tier in All-Star Rare versus All-Star Rare Pro and seeing which one was higher. So like tier 2 is always around, it's in the 400-ish range.
Yeah. But that you don't need a tier 2, you need a tier you just need to get like the top 170. So like let's see what 170 was. This game week I don't think is going to be a good representation of what it's going to be. So last game week 170th, I'm working my way down. I'm going to assume was around 415. 170th last game week was 416.25.
That's for $399.
Yeah, for Rare Pro in $299 or $399. So I think that you're going to have to put up like, let's say, I don't know, 380 to 400 average over those 4 scores. So probably call it 1,600 to get a reward. Obviously, the more you score, the more higher you're going to be. But I would assume you need like 1,600 to get a reward, give or take.
300 in a midweek.
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? That's just not going to play. Like so basically, like in this midweek, go back to that midweek, right?
Oops, sorry.
If you didn't finish in the top, let's say 50 in the midweek, there's just your lineup's not going to play as like a high score. Like look at
it's just one of the ones that isn't counted.
Yeah, like this is like if you finish like 50th, like you're 385. So like that might count. Like that for you to get a reward, that probably has to be like your worst score of 4, right? And so like anyone below that, like you're just that is likely not going to be used. And if it is used, you're just probably not getting a score unless you put up like a 500, which can happen. So I think that it's a good situation. And it's interesting. Like it's a lot more fun, right? It has a lot more strategy. Haber asked, what would you need to start sacrifice maybe making 3 lineups to prioritize the 1 month long competition? I definitely think if you put up like 2 good scores in the first couple weeks, you have to prioritize this because there's like the additional like, oh, I get an additional prize on top of the weekly prize if my lineup's good. So if you put up like a 450 and then you put up like a 450 again and you have 5 more game weeks, I would probably be prioritizing and sacrificing elsewhere because you're adding a lot of equity into that situation because it's going to be hard to like if you put up like 4 450s, you're probably going to be up in the top 10.
I would assume so. So
I'm curious what I have put up the last few game weeks. Can you go see what I put up like the last 4 weekend game weeks in Gas Pro, knowing that like I almost always will prioritize All-Star Pro.
All right. So that was actually kind of where I wanted to go with that for a second, though, because like you said, like All-Star Rare Pro is almost always the first lineup you set. Like that's where your best cards go. Theoretically, it's 3 cards in that lineup that could go to All-Star Rare because you always play 2 super rares. So you're giving yourself essentially 4 game weeks, I'm assuming, to decide if you're going to take your best rares out of All-Star Rare Pro and put them into All-Star Rare, considering that you're not as competitive in All-Star Rare Pro at that point than in All-Star Rare. That makes
Yeah,
sense?
unless I put up some monster score. Like I was more talking about like changing things from All-Star Rare to Rare Pro instead of like All-Star Rare Pro to All-Star Rare. The issue is
But
I
you're
have
already doing that. You're already putting your best cards in Rare Pro. So
yeah, I'm
that's
already
not,
putting my best
you're not
cards in Rare
changing
Pro.
anything by
Correct.
that.
Yes.
So it's really when do you decide to sacrifice All-Star Rare Pro for All-Star Rare?
If I put up a really good score the first game week, well, I mean, go look. I won All-Star Rare one of these weeks.
Yeah.
One of
So
the
you
game weeks
scored
I won
you
All-Star Rare.
scored 407 this game week in All-Star Rare Pro. 292 the weekend before.
Yeah.
What happened there?
I probably had a DNP or something.
I know. Understalls
Oh yeah.
and Trent. Oof.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Sean. 397 was 393 points. With I don't know why I'm not sharing this. Sorry. Messi, Griezmann, Bruno, Douglas, and Bilo. Like, is that enough? That lineup right there, is that enough after 1 week? Oh, actually,
No.
this is Rare Pro. Never mind.
No, yeah.
Because you're already doing it.
I mean, look at my rares. I won Rare one of the game weeks. I think it was a midweek. I won All-Star Rare.
399 here. So the real question is, like, when do you start using Messi in All-Star Rare?
Probably if I put up a really good score, I would probably do it pretty quickly. Like I'm talking like a top 10 score. Like if I won All-Star Rare, I would probably one of the midweeks I won it. I know one of the midweeks I won All-Star Rare, I think.
You
I
won
don't know which
Bilo, right?
Yeah. But like I don't remember which midweek it was, but you're looking at the weekend, so
No, this is midweek.
There. I put that up next weekend, then I probably prioritize All-Star Rare going forward for the rest of the time. Unless I also had a great All-Star Rare Pro lineup as well. But if I put 484 in All-Star Rare, I probably prioritize All-Star Rare the rest of the
So here's a different one, because I really don't see a reasonable situation where you're starting to sacrifice All-Star Rare Pro. How many regional Rare Pros do you prioritize over All-Star Rare right now?
At least 4.
So it's really, do you give those up, knowing there's no monthly prize for those? Does All-Star Rare now get ahead of Challenger, Champion, America and Asia, or U23?
If I put up a good score early, probably would not do it from day. Well,
that's on what is it day one?
The issue is like I still end up with good cards in All-Star Rare, right? Like I mean, go look at my All-Star Rare from this week, and I'm sure the cards in there are fine or like good, right? Like I'm sure this weekend cards that are in All-Star Rare you would deem as good cards. I literally do not even know who is in the lineup.
Yeah, it's not so much whether they are good.
Yeah, like I mean, those cards are good cards, right?
How did Eduardo score 53 with
it? So it's not showing actually. Yeah, there's no goal.
Gotcha.
Yes, Surface told me that yesterday. Must be a bug.
Yeah, that is a bug. So it's really, let's go.
Yes. I'll tell you if I deem the cards as better cards going into this game week if you go to look through them. So like let's look. All of those cards in Rare Pro I deemed as better cards than were in All-Star Rare.
Would any of these?
No. I mean the cat mode. No, I just sort of throw whatever in the cat modes.
So like, yes. Wendell doesn't make it into.
Wendell would have been better than those cards. Oceanman would have been better than those cards. The rest maybe not. Those cards probably not. But like yeah, Gear Tree. Well, Gear Tree had
Pote?
Yeah, well, yes, Pote I would have considered better. Gear Tree I would have considered better, but also Gear Tree has had like rumors of leaving surrounding him frequently. So like there is risk with him.
Yeah, it's just more like, yeah, Messi, you put in All-Star Rare?
No, that's not All-Star Rare, Laird.
No, I'm saying, would you put him in All-Star Rare?
No, because I actually think the guys that were in All-Star Rare were better than Messi this game week. Like I think Quinones was better than him. Well, I thought there was a pretty good chance that they were going to rotate Messi. Tuggy asked, was the current game week the start of month long? No. Next weekend is the first weekend for that. I mean, my Asia Rare Pro lineup was very strong this week.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could have moved Elber into that lineup probably, and I would have said he was better than Quinones before the week started.
Yeah. So I think realistically, the conversation for you with your
Yeah.
gallery is: are you going to sacrifice your rare regional rare pros in favor of All-Star?
Possibly. And so David just said that he thinks for me to prioritize is a lot easier with the size of my gallery because I have a lot more options. Like my cards that can go into All-Star Rare, if I'm not prioritizing it, are still good. Whereas other people, it's literally like if you either sacrifice and play good cards here, or you just are going to play a loser that isn't that good here. And that's where the situation comes to. It's like, I mean, go look at you. What did you run in All-Star Rare this week? And how many of the regionals do you prioritize before you get to All-Star Rare?
I play All-Star Rare is like the second lineup I play now.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting.
It became considerably more important to me.
Jonathan asked, do we think all-star competitions are going to become the most competitive competitions on the platform? They already are.
They already are, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not, there's really no change. Like people will prioritize more, like we're talking about. There will be more priority here than there has been. The only thing I would say is higher prioritized than the all-star competitions right now is Cap Mode 240. Would you agree? People still really prioritize that.
Oh, I thought you meant for me. I don't think that people aren't prioritizing it in the sense that they are putting their best cards there.
Yeah.
Because they can't. Most
people
You
literally prioritized All-Star Rare before Rare Pro this weekend. What is your first priority then? U23. Please tell me you read U23 Rare Pro. Oh, so you actually prioritized All-Star Super Rare this weekend. Okay.
Madsen own goal killed me.
Yeah.
And I don't know where this Coates assist is. Not an assist. The defender touched it.
Yeah, just so
we're replays 1,000 times.
If I was running Laird's account this weekend, this would not have been the lineup I ran.
I believe that.
You know, what would I have ran in All-Star Rare Pro if it was my number one priority with your lineup?
You would have run a
Don Rare guys immediately.
What's that?
I know 4 players immediately, probably all 5.
I think it would have been a Don Rare, Coates Super Rare, Bruno, Quinones, and either Diaz or Messi.
So the alternative would have been Mazraoui and then Messi. But yes. The first 3, yes.
Well, it would have had to been a Don Rare, Coates Rare if you played Mazraoui and Quinones.
No, I wouldn't have played Quinones. I said if I did the alternative, it would have been Messi and Mazraoui. I would have ran a Don Coates Super Rare, Bruno Rare, captain. I would have captained Bruno Rare. I thought Bruno had like the best spot of the whole weekend for almost anyone, I thought. And then I would have considered Quinones Super Rare and someone, or Messi and Mazraoui. Because Mazraoui, this game week was like a really favorable spot for Mazraoui too.
Yeah, shout out to Mazraoui for getting subbed off before they conceded, so he kept the clean sheet. Gotta love it.
So Jonathan said that people prioritize U23 and Champ Europe. Yeah, they do, but I mean, I think that this was still. I think All-Star Rare Pro is probably the most competitive. Here's the thing. There's like 5 cards in Champ, and like less than that in U23 that are good enough to be played in like your All-Star Rare Pro line. Like there's just not very many cards that are that good because there's better cards elsewhere.
Yeah. I think so. I don't know if anybody has caught Nellis's video from last week about how he's competing against the SorareData lineup builder. And one of the big things from that video, he doesn't actually discuss it, but it's what everybody does, that when they say they prioritize lineups, they don't actually mean that. They just mean that they do those first. And so he was going through the process and he was like, well, I prioritize whatever he said it was. And he was like, but the problem is that the SorareData lineup builder is telling me to use, I think it was a Hradecky Super Rare. And he was like, I use Hradecky in Champ Europe, so I can't use him here. And it's like, well, now you're not actually prioritizing whatever you're building because you're using a card that should be there if you're prioritizing it and putting it somewhere else. So you're like knowingly making a worse decision just to get another lineup in. And like we've talked about it, Quinny's done a bunch of stuff on it that sometimes if you're truly prioritizing lineups and like whatever is first, you're going to put your best cards there. You are not going to be able to build as many lineups as you want. And that people can't get over that.
That's not true, Laird. I prioritize lineups and build as many lineups as I want.
You don't count. Literally do not count.
No, I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean. It's definitely a quantity over quality thing. And to be fair, a lot of the times I would take quantity over quality within reason. Like if you're going to make one like elite level lineup or like 3 turd boxes, I'm making one elite level lineup. But if you're making like one okay line or one good lineup and then like 3 like okay lineups, I probably take 3 okay lineups because variance is going to play into factor and like you have more of a chance to spread it out. But
to go back to these combinations, let me just hide this Rare Pro so it's out of the way. Because the correct answer in hindsight is Super Rare Don, Super Rare Coates, Ruben Diaz, Bruno, and Messi.
Well, yes, but
I finished 30. That lineup is currently 30th in All-Star Rare Pro, and I would absolutely have never played it.
No, yeah, I get it.
That's all.
But here's the thing, too. Like, if you put up that 412, you're probably going to prioritize All-Star Rare first every week going forward for the rest of the month.
No doubt.
Yeah, because that is a very good score that you are in a very good spot to capitalize on that. I think you also know you can make a good rare lineup all the time.
What's that?
You can make a good rare lineup like every game week.
Yeah, maybe not during matter whether I want to play Rare Pro or not.
Yes. Like you would do what you just did this week, you would probably do something similar.
Like if this was the first game week, I basically play this. I mean, not this exact lineup, but like those cards will never be in another lineup for that month.
I still think that decision was like wild that you made, but
skipping Rare Pro.
Yeah, you had like a perfect Rare Pro lineup that would have made way more sense. Like you didn't prioritize properly, in my opinion. You made two okay lineups at the expense of one elite level lineup.
I think this rare lineup is elite.
I would argue that no rare lineup is elite.
I mean, that's dumb.
It's not. Your elite lineup that did very well is an 85th. You're getting a tier 3 or whatever.
I mean, that's a results thing. Obviously.
It's not a results thing. Like it's just any rare lineup is not going to, it'd be like any limit. Do you think any limited lineup can be elite?
Of course.
No.
You don't think so because of rewards though. Like the fact that the most valuable reward you can get is like $200.
No, that has nothing to do with it. It's that like it doesn't matter how good your lineup is. It's going to be very difficult to end up with one of the better lineups.
Yeah, I disagree that this didn't have a chance to be one of the best lineups.
I didn't say it doesn't have the chance to be one of the best lineups, but I'm saying that it's just very unrealistic that it ends up one of the best lineups, no matter how good it is. You put the 5 best players in the lineup in a rare lineup, I'm like, it's not an elite lineup. It's a good lineup. Whereas you put the 5 most elite cards on the platform in like All-Star Rare Pro, I'm like, all right, that's a great lineup.
So now that we're 33 minutes in, this is the topic. This is the conversation I wanted to have because it feels like our previous Rare Pro lineups, or excuse me, our previous Rare Pro conversations basically don't apply anymore because we used to have the whole like get 3 elite rares and get a few good super rares and the 20% bonus, it should be good enough. And it doesn't feel like that's good enough anymore, that you basically need 5 elite cards to really compete in Rare Pro. And getting 2 elite super rares is prohibitive for almost everybody.
No, you had 2 elite super rares this week.
So they're elite super rares, they're just not elite rares.
No, I mean they can be elite rares, but there's just no such thing as like an elite lineup in a rare contest because it just doesn't exist. Because it's all about being able to like get up at the high end of the results, and it's just almost impossible to get at the high end of the results because you just need to be so perfect in the rare contests.
But I'm arguing that you pretty much need to be almost perfect in Rare Pro now.
I would argue you don't need to be as perfect. Like my lineup stinks.
You definitely don't have to be as perfect. You're absolutely
right. I think my lineup stinks, and I'm like 60th this week.
What do you win for 60th?
Tier 2.
Let's see.
You look at my lineup, you tell me if my lineup is good this week. Like, I think it stinks.
Did you think it stunk before the game week?
No, I thought it was, well, I actually didn't prioritize All-Star Rare Pro this week. I had lots of other options to prioritize that made more sense, I thought. Like, it was a great lineup, but like, I was like, yeah, I don't really care as much about it. I wanted to watch. I was, right now I'm busy on Saturdays, and I wanted to watch the sporting game yesterday if it was relevant. So I was like, I'm gonna stack the sporting guys, but like, I have one decisive in my lineup, and it's a goalie clean sheet, and that's it. And that, like, it just isn't great. But like, I mean, hey, I'm getting 69, so I'm still gonna get a card. But like, I just didn't think this lineup is like I thought it was very, very good when I set this lineup on Thursday.
Sure.
Matt asked, what are the decisions going into whether to prioritize D2 or D3? I'm debating prioritizing D2 above D3 next week. I mean, I think the biggest key to that is, can you put out an elite level D2 lineup for 8 game weeks in a row? If your answer is no, you shouldn't be doing that, because you're just not going to be competitive in the long form competition. So like, if for your situation, in that situation, the long form competition is not relevant to me. Blue Tomatoes asks, I wouldn't consider your gas lineup as elite, my rare pro lineup. Yeah, I would, or my gas limited lineup. I don't even know what my gas limited lineup is, but no, because I don't even know what it is. So no.
This is it right here.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Everson, Arana.
I don't think if you showed me any lineup with any cards in it in the elite or in limited competition, I'm going to tell you it's not an elite lineup, because there's just no such thing. Yes, it can be the best lineup in the competition, which technically makes it elite. But like, I set this lineup and I literally had no idea what it scored, because I wouldn't expect to win anything relevant anyways.
That's only because you don't care about it.
That's not true.
It is true.
No, if I could win the competition, I would care about it, because that's still like a half an ETH.
So you submitted this lineup, and on Friday you just gave up with any thought that it could do anything.
I had it hidden Friday yes.
And so the expectation is that it was not going to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, it might get a reward. You want to know how many lineups I have not hidden right now?
I mean, I'm not sure that matters, to be honest.
I have 6 lineups not hidden, and I'm winning 10 rewards.
I'm not sure what the point of that is.
Yeah. So Kev Hurd just brings up, this is exactly what I'm saying. And he said, what I'm saying is that you can have elite players in a lineup that doesn't always get the best score. Yes. And when you have so many different contenders for a best lineup, it doesn't really matter, because if your guys don't perform at like the top end. So SR Monkey said it's whether the cards have a realistic chance of putting up 80 score. If I get 4 80s in a limited lineup, I'm going to get like 100th place or something. Like, it's not. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, right? Like, you're still getting a reward, and you're getting a okay reward. But when I'm thinking elite, like when I put in this All-Star Rare Pro lineup on Thursday, I was like, I can win the competition. No matter what lineup I put into an All-Star Rare competition, I don't think I can win the competition. And whatever I put in limited, I definitely don't think I can win the competition. Like, I still, to this day,
you don't think you can, or you don't think you will?
I mean, I don't think I will. Like, it's like a point. Like, I think I have a legit chance on a weekend of like a 3 to 5% chance at podiuming All-Star Rare Pro on a weekend. And I think like maybe even higher, like maybe higher. Like, whereas like limited is, I think there's like a 0.01% chance I'll hit a podium. And like, so that means it's just like, doesn't really matter what I put in there. It's just not an elite level card. So Matchlow said he's not debating prioritizing D2 above D3 to the long competition. He's just saying his D2 lineup is better than D3 lineup. So that's something where I typically will just make the best lineup. If I have a lineup that I think is really elite in a competition and the reward pool isn't like Cat Mode 220, I will just run the best lineup. So like this Some game weeks I will prioritize like All-Star Super over like All-Star Rare Pro if I have a lineup that I'm like, this is an elite level lineup in All-Star Rare Pro, it's better, or All-Star Super, it's better than like what I could put into All-Star Rare Pro.
Sorry, say it again.
I will prioritize like the bet. Like if I think like I can like win All-Star Super and I'm like, it's just better to do that than like put out a good lineup in All-Star Rare Pro, I will prioritize All-Star Super sometimes.
So does that change based on where we are in the month?
Possibly.
Like what's kind of like the first game week of the month now, the priority is super important because it effectively decides what you do the rest of the month.
It's definitely possible. It's definitely possible long form competition causes you to do different things.
So theoretically, so this weekend that we're coming up is the first weekend of the month-long competition.
Yes.
Do you start to prioritize All-Star Rare and All-Star Super Rare along with All-Star Rare Pro instead of the regional competitions?
I will probably do things as normal this weekend, and then I will reassess after this weekend. Blue Tomatoes said, so you think guys with $3 million galleries will say Rare Pro lineups aren't elite. I can say that people with like a $3 million gallery do not give a shit about limiteds or the rare competition. They're literally not even going to look at it.
Yeah, the question was Rare Pro.
Yeah, Rare Pro, yes. I think anybody with like a huge gallery that has really, really good cards can realistically win the Rare Pro competition. I think it's all about like what you can realistically win. I cannot realistically win a limited competition. I think I have like one tier 0 in limited competition in over a year. And I'm like, I'm not saying I have the best cards because I don't care about it. But like, I do not care about the limited competitions because I just cannot realistically win a podium. Like I cannot hit a podium. Like I do not think I've had a podium in limited ever. And I probably, and I have had, let me see if I can find it within the gallery. So I have had 52 wins. I've won 52 competitions. I don't know how many podiums I have. Is there somewhere I can go to see how many podiums I have, Laird? Is it in SO5 stats? No.
No, it might be on Sorare somewhere.
Yeah, it was on Sorare.
But right. This is because because you don't care. But I think that people who care might, like, I'm looking, somebody, who is it? Surface brought up how Nanzo does Sorare Mega.
Well,
like Nanzo won U23 limited 6 game weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, Nanzo,
he finished third in Asia Limited last weekend. Like, I think you're just saying he's just a total outlier.
Yes. SR Monkey said he's been shaking his head in disagreement for 10 minutes. What part are you in disagreement with?
Misagi said the Sorare honors page will tell you how many podiums you've had in certain things.
I don't know how to get there, I don't think. Oh, I do know how to get there. All right.
I think hold on.
Honors,
here we go.
I'll let you know. So yeah, I've had 158 podiums. So that is like one podium every game week. No, probably like one podium every 2 game weeks, give or take, probably, since I've been on the platform.
But no limited ones. I'm trying to see. I only have 2 limited podiums. And it was Challenger and Specialist.
Oh, yeah. How do you check it in limit? Oh, okay. I see.
Just scroll down because it doesn't.
I have.
Actually, can I just pull yours up here?
I have 0 podiums in limited competitions.
Oh, I can't. And do you think? So you're fully convinced that if you cared, you still would not have gotten any.
I would probably have a couple, because like if I'm actually cared and bought the cards that would what. So SR Monkey said he's disagreeing with my definition of elite. What is your definition of elite, SR Monkey? Because like I don't view, if I look at alignment, I'm like, I have no realistic shot at winning. That's not elite to me. I could have elite cards in there, but if I realistically don't think I can win, that's not an elite lineup.
Just because of the number of people who you're competing against.
Yeah. Like, I don't sit there from DFS perspective. Like, I don't give a shit about my lineups that would be in like the Millie Maker, for example, because I'm not going to win it. It's just, I'm not going to win it. Most like 99.99999% chance I'm not going to win it. So that's not like of interest to me. Like, it doesn't really matter how good the lineup. The lineup can be great. Like, it could be a lineup where I would have won tens of hundreds, $1,000s in other contests. But if it's in the Millie Maker, I'm going to win like $200. And that's just not super important. So Matt Slow said the variance is just too high in limiteds, even with running elite cards. I agree. Well, if I run the most elite cards in limiteds over and over and over again, I'm going to end up with a good result here and there. Like, I'm going to have it happen, but I'm not going to like worry about it. I'm not going to go into, if I'm not going into the game week thinking like I can hit a podium with this, it's not elite. Like, it's just not an elite card.
So you just
like, here's the example. Like, all right, if you are Club Bruges going into the Champions League, I don't consider Club Bruges elite, even though they may have elite cards, because they're not realistically going to win the Champions League, right? It's the same thing when I enter like a limited lineup. Like, I could have elite cards, but they're not going to likely win that competition. Whereas if I throw, let's say, Club Bruges into the Belgian League, I'm like, all right, I got a chance to win this competition. This is an elite team. So like, they are an elite team in the Belgian League. They are not an elite team in the Champions League. So to me, it's like your levels of being elite and stuff can change. And even if you have the same players and cards, it may not be the same scope as what it is in each spot.
Right. So the lineup that you put in Rare Pro, those 5 players, if you consider those elite, that exact same lineup in limited is not elite.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
SR Monkey disagrees.
Yeah, I said this. Elite cards can still be elite. That has nothing to do with it. The cards can be elite, but you can play elite cards in a lineup and that lineup not be elite because the lineup has no realistic chance to win.
Right. So your level or your calculation of elite is odds of winning the competition.
Realistically, getting a tier 0 or a high-end card. Also,
that actually changes it because there are a lot more stars available in limited competition.
No, Brad's also right. He said, speaking of elite, this is an elitist conversation. Only a small percentage of players have the budget to run what Sean calls an elite line. 100%. And I will say this, and I think this is very good for a lot of people. And I can say that Laird is this way, especially. So take this for what it's worth. If you are someone that can play the limited competitions and are excited about it, be happy with that. It's awesome that is the case, because I know Laird, Whale Laird over here. If this dude isn't like winning All-Star Rare Pro, he's just pissy and not in a good mood and like not happy. So like, if you can be, the majority of people are looking to win rewards. And if you are happy with that, keep that mindset. It'll make you a lot happier doing anything in life, really, than if you move up, you're playing stuff and then you aren't winning much. The same thing with poker. Someone mentioned poker earlier, but like, yeah, if you play like 1-2 no limit and you buy in for $200 and you win $400 and you're like fist pumping that, but then like later in life, you are a 50-100 no limit player that plays for like $100,000 a night. And all of a sudden you decide to play the $1, $2 games again. You're just not really going to care, because it's just not at the level of what you're used to playing at anymore. So it's just a different feeling all around.
So I want to go back to this comment from SR Monkey, because I sort of feel like you guys are kind of saying the same thing, but continue to disagree about it. But he said the definition of elite is the same before the week starts as it is after the lineup is up in flames on Sunday. So 100%. Sean agrees with you.
Yes.
But I think the two of you would look at the same lineup, and SR Monkey.
Yes.
Go. By the way, everybody go subscribe to the Sorare Ramble on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. he would look at this 5 lineup and be like, this is an elite lineup.
Yes.
Because these cards are great. They have great matchups, all of this. And you would say this lineup is not elite because it's in a limited competition with 20,000 other lineups.
Yes. Yeah, literally, we are saying the same thing in like 80% of this conversation. We are both saying the cards in the lineup are elite. We're both saying that what happens before the game week starts and what happens after the game week starts is the same. Yes, correct.
Matchlow, the same lineup can be elite in D2 and not elite in D5.
Correct, exactly. So like, I'm going to say this lineup is not elite in this D5 line. SR Monkey is going to say this lineup is elite in this D5 line. And then we're never going to win a top prize in that D5 contest. So is it elite?
D5 meaning limited. Those of you who joined the platform within 18 months and have never heard of D5. I said D5 is the limited competitions for anyone who joined the platform in the last 18 months and has no idea what Division 5 is.
Yes, exactly. Which, again, that naming decision was very poor. I still don't know why they did that. I love you too as well, SR Monkey.
We'll continue to disagree.
Like, individual cards are elite. It doesn't matter what the difference is between the cards. Like if a card is playing on and a card on one game week, it can be elite, and then the next game week it could not be elite because the matchups matter, situation. Like this weekend, I did not think Messi was elite because I did not think Messi was going to play. I thought there was a high probability he would sit. I also thought the matchup was just horrendous based on how New York Red Bulls plays, that it would have limited him regardless, even if he did play from the start. So like, and again, so like Messi, most elite card on the platform right now, probably. But it doesn't make him an elite play every single game week because there's other factors that go into the situation. So anyways.
Yeah, no, I think that, well, Messi didn't start. So
he didn't start, but he did score off the bench.
Yeah, half sat. Yeah, I think that's all the difference. So if going back to, I apologize because I actually had it up on the screen, but at what point, essentially the goal, and I think we've talked about this in other conversations about moving to the super rare division, but the more scarce the cards are, the fewer people you are competing against. And so you don't need quite as good of a lineup in the super rare division as you do in rare pro, as you do in rare, as you do in limited, meaning scores. If you have the super rares, why not focus on the super rare division instead of rare pro?
Because the super rare division, typically prize pool is not very good.
I'm not sure the rare pro one is great either. I mean, it is for first place. I will say this. First place, I don't think it's even comparable, which is kind of embarrassing.
The answer to your question is it is easier to have elite level rares and a couple elite level super rares than it is to have 5 elite level super rares. Like, for example, you're playing like Mazraoui super rare this past game week, I would have said was better than every single defender super rare I had in my gallery. But then you're playing it with Nicholas Madsen.
Dude would have smashed without the own goal.
Okay. But like, and then for example, like Bruno Rare was equivalent or better than every rare I had in my gallery this past weekend. And then goalie doesn't fucking matter because it's variance fest. So like you this past weekend had 3 cards that I would have considered to be the best possible cards you could have at.
Who was the third?
Well, the goalie, just because like every goalie is But so like you had like the 3 best possible. Sora Holland asked, does a collection bonus of 5% make a lineup elite? It absolutely does not. It does not. But so like you this past weekend had the potential. You had 3 pieces that were as elite as you could realistically get, that you could have ran in your all-star rare pro lineup.
Mm-hmm.
However, what you ended up doing is you ran them in all-star rare lineup and all-star super rare lineup with a bunch of pieces that were not very elite. So I think you made 2 okay lineups instead of 1 elite lineup. Scott Burton brings up a good point that no lineup is elite if it has a goalkeeper. I cannot argue with that. If you got a tender in there, it just brings it down.
Nobody wants
Scott knows what's going on because that is facts. If there's a goalie that you have to sit there and you have to deal with, like, that's always rough. It always feels good when you get the goalie clean sheet out of the way because you're just like, I don't care. Just I don't want to have to deal with the goalie.
That was, I think, yeah, I think that Sporting lineup was the last, or the Sporting game was the last one of my like weekend.
It
and it
was
like,
in
oh
that
great,
game.
just need a Sporting clean sheet. Never been here before.
That's what like for me this past weekend, you could have had 5 elite players in your All-Star Rare Pro lineup. You could not do that in your All-Star Super Rare lineup. I don't think you could do it in your All-Star Rare lineup. Could you have done it in your All-Star Rare lineup? Because I'm not like I didn't think Messi was elite this week.
Let me see if I had a better rare forward. I don't think so.
Like
Hulk, maybe.
Yeah, they had a good matchup. Maybe I don't know if When I'm thinking, yeah, I'm trying to see what you had.
Hulk or Cecina were the only real.
Oh, Cecina was elite. Yeah, I would have played Cecina. I did. I mean, I literally did. So yeah, if I was you, I would have ran. What I probably would have ran was a Don Rare, Coate Super Rare, Bruno
Cecina
Rare
and
Captain, Ceci, and
Bruno.
No, I said Bruno, and then Mazraoui Super.
Oh, Mazraoui, yeah.
And I would have felt that lineup was about as you could have realistically ran this week.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to see.
So the issue is like you could not have ran that in Super Rare. Like I like
correct.
You couldn't run that in Super Rare. You do not have good enough Super Rares, but like also like in Super Rare, you did have 3 guys that I would consider elite in Adon, Mazraoui, and Coates, and someone I would consider as very good in Quinones. The issue is that you're running out Nicholas Madsen, which is just like it's just I don't love running my elite cards on a game week with like someone that I just do not think is that great. And
such disrespect.
Yeah. I just don't think Madsen is up to the bill of the other guys. And to be
that
fair,
lineup finishes 419 points.
Congrats on your like tier 5, maybe?
No. In Rare Pro.
Oh.
All-Star Rare Pro, that finishes 419.
Yeah, so what would you have won?
I would have finished 53rd, which is I don't know, probably a tier 3,
tier 2,
maybe a tier 2,
like mid tier 2. Yeah,
right.
Which is fine, but I mean, like, again, you're winning a tier 3 in All-Star Rare, which isn't bad at all.
I'm like half a point short of a tier 2, if I remember correctly.
Well, there's still games in Korea. You're going to be further away.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You're right.
You're going to be like a high tier 3. You'll probably finish around like 100th, 100 to 120th. But so, anyways, yeah, like that's the whole thing. Is
so
like
the same thing, basically.
What?
I guess it's not the same. I take it back.
No,
Bruno Captain, I win a tier 2 easily, which is the same that I would have gotten in All-Star Rare Pro.
I mean,
instead, I had an All-Star Super Rare lineup as well.
Typically, I would recommend you play the best player as captain, and you didn't do that.
I'm still iffy on that strategy. Tuggy, I am not going for the Lossel one of Super Rare in 2 hours. I have one already. Why would I want another one?
Rascal's waiting on his Osmar.
But
yeah, so like I mean, look, there's players that are elite and there's players that are elite. Nobody is the same every game week. I would argue no player is elite every single game week because Messi had lots of questions whether or not he'd start in this game. If you have questions whether or not you're going to start, you are not elite, right? Like that just removes elite immediately. But yeah, there's players that are elite as an overall. There's players that are elite on certain game weeks. There are players that are elite that are not elite during a game week. There are lineups that are elite in certain competitions. And then if you take that same lineup elsewhere, it is not elite. I know lots of different, like all over the place. Like, but yeah.
The one thing I wanted to point out, sorry, I'm actually trying to see, where is this Lossel Super Rare going right now? Oh, no way, it's at 1.2.
What'd you pay? You probably paid under on 1, didn't you?
Sean, I paid 0.62.
Whew.
It's literally double what I paid.
What amazing business here by Lairdinho.
Shout out to Pap. Bought it from him.
There you go.
God, that is a wild score. The one thing I wanted to point out, and we didn't actually Well, we sort of just got there actually with the end of tier 3, tier 2. So I wanted to go back because I thought at some point this conversation would get to the fact that you can win better rewards in rare pro versus rare.
Yeah.
And so I made this spreadsheet. And again, apologies for using a Google sheet here. So I tried to do this in a way that I could see it, but it actually made it worse, but I ran out of time. But essentially the red is rare and blue is rare pro. And you can just see kind of like where certain cards are each week. But looking at the value difference between like the end of a tier and the beginning of the other one is just a reminder that the reward list is like one huge list.
Yeah.
And it's just like tier 1 is here above. And so like the next reward is going to be very close value wise.
Yeah. The only spot it really matters is in the tier zeros, right? Like after that, it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. You know what, Sean? It's not even the tier zeros. It's first place.
Yeah.
Like very rarely is even the second place remotely
well,
close.
It depends. It depends how many are given out, right? Like it depends how many tier zeros are given out. The more tier zeros that are given out, the more likely you are to like to get pushed up higher, which does matter. Like if there's 5 tier zeros or 2 tier zeros, I want to win the spot where there's 5 tier zeros because I'm more likely to get pushed to the higher end.
You're not.
You are.
You think you are. It's because the top one is so much higher, but like they are more than willing to go from like a 1.2 rare second place to like 0.4.
No, I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying you are more likely to get a higher card valuation in the situation where there are more given out.
Yes, sure.
You are. I mean, literally, factually.
I'm agreeing. I'm saying yes, but I'm just saying that the value itself is not.
But I mean, yeah, it also goes to the discussion. I mean, we can go back to your lineup really quick. So if you ran your exact rare lineup in All-Star Rare Pro, but you removed the Adon Super Rare, and you played the Adon Super Rare and Kawate Super Rare over the 2 that you're at, all of a sudden you put up what you would have put up like another 25 points. So you're at like
still a tier 2.
You're like you would have been like a tier at 440 or so.
No.
Yeah, I'm saying if you use your exact rare lineup, go to your rare lineup. If you take that exact lineup and just replace Kawate's rare and the Dawn rare with the super rares of those versions.
Yeah, it's like 437. I did the math earlier.
Yeah, so what's 437 get?
26th place.
So like a very high tier 2. And ETH.
It's literally the middle tier 2. Okay. Oh no, it's not. No, it's not. Sorry, you're right.
Well, here's the thing. This is why this is why we've had the discussion.
I wouldn't have won ETH, Sean. I win just straight cash now.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. Straight cash for Laird. And it's actually really good. So like this is why I always say like I'm gonna go buy super rares of guys I'm playing. So like if Laird did that exact lineup with 2 super rares, which he talked about, he said that could have been an option he would have ran. But he turns this high tier 3 that he's winning in All-Star Rare into a rare pro lineup that would have been a high tier 2 and $200 cash. So like you're probably talking $400 or $500 in cash that if he had the super rare versions of those and did that elsewhere, he would have been able to get like 0.34 ETH, like $500 worth of cash out of it by having that option. So like that adds up.
Where does the extra $300 come from?
From the difference between a top tier 2 and a top tier 3. I don't know what the difference is.
Oh, the card value.
Yeah, the card value, and then the card value, and then also the actual straight cash you're getting.
Yeah. Just checking that one. Yeah. So I was like, I don't see this extra cash anywhere. Yeah. But yeah, that's why you should always do super rare goalie, super rare defender.
Yeah, before also, because I know we're gonna have in the chat. I'm gonna call this now, Laird, that like in the comment section, people are gonna be like, this is a whale conversation, yada yada yada. This definitely was a conversation of elitism and whaling, because that's sort of what we're doing. Also, it's a lot nicer now that you have limited time only with Gator Guy, so that you cover like you now have so many different shows that showcase all the different levels of Sorare. You have like Gator Guy for the limited audience. You have me for like the higher end strategy and like the higher end whale audience. You have Andy Black for like penises. So like there's just a lot of coverage within the SorareData content going on that that makes things pretty solid, I think.
Do you know what lineup I sweat the most this weekend? Cap 240 limited.
How drunk were you?
Sean, I got it. Got my $5. Couldn't be happier.
I mean, I don't even know if I hit. Let me see. You know what I still want to do, and I do actually care a little bit about this, just because I'm interested how long it's going to take me. I want to hit the rainbow threshies, and I hit it in 240 super.
I was gonna say, you haven't done it yet?
I know I've not hit the cap 240 threshy rainbow, but I hit it in unique this week. I hit it in super this week. I want to see if I hit their others. No. This is like the fourth time, Laird, where the one I did not hit was limited. I hit the other three. I did not hit limited. My limited line, let me see what my limited cap 240 lineup was. All four guys played, but they were, or all five guys played, but they were not very good. Yep. Yvonne Villar, Zeki Yavru did not get the job done.
I thought he got benched. VR. No,
I couldn't tell you. I just have a limited, so I would pay attention.
I think you should start prioritizing that, Sean. You know what's funny is that you prioritize the academy for your $5, but not cap 240.
I probably got some ETH in, so I still collected ETH, Laird, in my academy.
I don't think you did.
Oh, I might not. Well, yeah, because weren't the limited the legends were terrible this game week.
Also, I almost bought a Big Bob Scoofs just for cap 240 this week. Good play, Sean.
See? Great. Mike Basson said the Black's here for the high-end audience. No, Black is here for the penises and the cooms and the dicks and the I'm sure there's lots of other things that the Black is here for.
We had very serious discussion last weekend about the design of cards and all of that stuff. I actually don't remember what else we talked about. A long time ago.
But yes, if you guys don't follow, make sure you guys tune in to the Sorare Andrews podcast with Laird and someone maybe in the top 5 of people I've met from St. Louis on Sorare.
Maybe in the top 5. Wow.
Maybe.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you could please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to Quinny. It's always much appreciated. I feel like there's a conversation that a lot of people thought we needed to have for a long time. Like, people keep asking. We didn't actually answer the whole, should you go to Rare or Rare Pro? But it's also, this is what you need to consider. How elite are your chances of winning in each competition? So yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, if you're just gonna buy some bad, if you're just gonna buy some like really junk super rares, that just doesn't cut it in Rare Pro anymore. But we could talk about like that Mazraoui super rare, you tried to sell for like under half an ETH. And no, I think that would have.
It wasn't that low.
How low did you post it for?
It was an absurd amount.
That you posted it for?
Yeah, I thought so. No,
I don't know. You posted it. What was your?
I think it expired.
Yeah, it was definitely expired. I don't know what you had it at.
0.793.
Okay, whatever. But anyways, like that card was going for like half an ETH, and I think that was legit better than any super defender I had in my gallery this weekend. And my gallery's whatever my gallery's worth. So like it goes to show you can have guys that can be elite level super rares for a lot lower of a price point. Like right now, you could go buy a Mazraoui super rare off the market for 0.9, and when he's in the lineup and going to play, he's really good as an option. Like he's a very good option. So it's not unquestionable. You can get good to very good super rares for like half an ETH to an ETH. But yeah, if you're just gonna go buy like a really dumpy guy that for like 0.3 ETH, yeah, it's probably not gonna cut it.
Agreed. All right. On that Mazraoui note, thank you to everybody and good luck this midweek.